I got my start in marketing totally by accident. I'm actually speaking at a conference at the end of the month called the Accidental Church Conference. And I'm in the exact position that these guys were 10 years ago. I had no idea what I was doing. But my first task at my job at the church was to fix the church website. I had no idea what I was doing. I spent 6 months and valuable church budget on my salary, on courses, on trainings, on webinars, on books. I even took a local community college class. That was a waste of time. But eventually I figured out I don't know if I figured it out, but eventually we got a website that we were happy with and we put it up live. And with that website, we brought in 13 new families to our church. That was unheard of for us at the time. And 12 of those 13, I wish I could say all of them, but 12 of those 13 mentioned the website as a reason that they decided to visit our church and eventually join our church. So God used our website to be available for our community when they were searching for a church. And I used what I learned to try to persuade them that our church could serve them in the way that we serve God. Okay, because there were a lot of false teachers and false prophets in that area. So we had to be very careful about how we approach our website. Eventually, I had other pastors asking me to build their websites. And so I did. But come around 2016, 2017, every church had a website. It may not have been a good one, but every church had a website, which meant that when someone searched for a church, they wouldn't just see our website anymore because we were at the forefront in 2012. They would see other churches. And so it became not only can we have a website for people to see, but can we make sure it's seen by people by being at the top of the list when they search for a church? That's when I had to learn search engine optimization. And then fast forward to 2019, it's not enough just to get at the top of Google search because now you're getting interrupted by ads. Now you're getting interrupted by local places. Now you're getting interrupted by other churches and other services that are having local search engine optimization. And not only that, that's when I felt conviction in that having a website is great. Having a website be found is great, but you're just getting people that are looking for churches. And some of them are lost. Some of them are feeling the pull of God, and others are just church transplants. And we want to serve them if their church is not serving them. But that's not doing whatever it takes to reach the lost. That's not reaching people where they are. It's still waiting for them to come to us, waiting for them to search for something, to ask a question. It's like if I go to a venue that I know is full of 100% lost people and I say, I'm going to disciple them. And I walk in there and I just stand there with maybe a church shirt on. And I'm just, no, you got to go and talk to people. You got to go start up conversations. You have to go and be willing to literally meet people where they are. And when people are online, you have to be willing to interrupt their day. And if we're going to interrupt their day, it's going to be worthwhile. It's not going to be for some makeup brush. It's not going to be for some new get-rich-quick scheme. It's not going to be for some essential oil. It is going to be Jesus Christ. All right, what's a better example than that? Okay, so I went from a path of just websites to websites and being found, and then from websites and being found and being known, being seen, and I realized that this was something that many churches need. And the second church that I took through this whole process, okay, we grew them, we helped them reach more people in their community, and they grew from 3 guests a month to a year later, they were getting 30 a month. And God was blessing that church, not just because of what we did, but in co-authorship of what we were doing. Because the problem with most church marketing efforts and most churches is they look for, I love this, I heard this morning, they look for silver bullets, and what they really need are golden BBs. Meaning you're not going to find one shot that does the job. You need to take multiple shots with pinpoint accuracy. And the way that I describe it is it's like a puzzle. Okay? You want to get the community, the people around you, your neighbors, the ones you're called to serve, the ones you planted your church for, to see the entire picture of your church in that you serve Jesus Christ. And you want them to see that entire picture, because if you ask any one of them what a church is, you're going to get as many answers as people you ask. Or as I like to say, if you ask 100 people what a church is, you're going to get 117 different answers. Because each of them have only seen a piece of the puzzle of the picture of the church. And it isn't until they see the different pieces and how they fit together do they actually understand the full meaning behind the local church and what the local church can do for them. And then not only that, what your church can do for them. Because if you only show them half the puzzle, they are going to fill in the other half. And with those assumptions, it's never what you want. Okay? You let people assume things, are always going to assume the worst. So what we did, I say we, it was me, but then I grew the team, is created a definitive church marketing method. That is a definitive, this is all you need to reach people for the gospel, to get them connected with your church and hear the gospel, to be discipled, right? And this is piece by piece, putting all the pieces of the puzzle together. It's a 9-piece puzzle, but if you do this in the right order, because just like with a puzzle, right? You start with the outside, then you find the colors. Okay, there's a pop of pink over here, so let me get the pink pieces, put those over there. Okay, it's a flower. Let me find some green stems, right? And eventually you get the whole puzzle together. You got to follow a certain strategy when you're doing your puzzle, when you're doing your marketing. And that's where a lot of churches get it wrong. They start in the middle because that's the sexy part. That's the part that really reaches people. But you haven't built the edge yet. You have no idea what you're doing. You're just trying to get random puzzle pieces together. I don't want to give you puzzle pieces. I want to give you the whole puzzle. Not only that, I want to do the puzzle for you, right? I want you to come home and you got 3 people in your house saying, tell me about this Jesus person. And I'm sitting there sealing the puzzle up, about to hang it up on the wall. That's what I want to be. So let me run down the puzzle for you. I'm going to throw up a graphic here. Hopefully. There we go. Okay, hopefully you can still hear me. Cool. So this is our definitive church marketing method. This is actually an old one because we did some updates to it, but that's okay. And it goes in 3 phases. And this is where churches get in trouble because they jump immediately to phase 3 and they don't actually put in the work of their foundation. The foundation actually starts with 3 steps. We call it influence inception because that's what it is. You're figuring out how you're going to influence your community without them, not without them realizing it, but without them pushing back. Because that's what we want. We want to have a message for your church that's going to reach people in a way that they can't ignore. And the gospel, while it is life-saving, redeeming, important, rescuing, chain breaking, if we just go out, and you know this, Pastor, if we just go out and start reading the Bible, not many people are going to pay attention. They're going to brush it off. They're going to start arguing with you. But if you go out and present it in a way that they understand that this is for me, this meets my needs, this meets my hurt, this fills the hole in my heart, then they listen to when you read the Bible, right? So you got to start with the message. That's why we start with be clear. It's having a clear message that your community cannot ignore. What does that message look like? I guarantee you it should not be Sundays at 10:30. We make disciples, you make disciples. Okay, go out there with a bullhorn. No one's going to pay attention to you. It's also probably not your mission statement. No one's walking around asking, I wish someone made me a disciple who made disciples. That's your mission statement. That's what your church should walk around. How can I be a disciple who makes disciples? But no one's walking around feeling that desire, feeling that need. Okay, mission statements are not a marketing asset. Okay, it's internal. And to prove that to you, think of any company in your area. What is their mission statement? Don't think of the one your friends run. Or the ones that you do business with, okay? I'm talking about the Taco Bells. You don't know their mission statement. Walmart. You don't know their mission statement. Office Depot. Did they close? Or is that Office Max? I don't know. But you don't know their mission statement, okay? I'm just listing places that are around me, right? The local Mexican restaurant that everyone loves. Ours is Gringos. You don't know their mission statement. Starbucks, you don't know their mission statement. These companies, they don't market their mission statement. They market what you need, the pain that you feel. Okay. Are you busy? Are you just getting off work and you don't have time to cook a meal for your kids? Get them a Happy Meal. All right. You want to feel good about yourself. You want to enjoy the fall. You want to get all nice, comfy, and cozy with a nice hot drink or an ice drink. Go to Starbucks. Right. You want to get everything you need in one place at low prices. Go to Walmart. Okay. You want high quality Mexican food with a great service and free ice cream. Go to Gringos, right? That's what I know about these places. I don't know about their mission statements because that's not their marketing asset. So your marketing asset, all that to say, is not your mission statement. It's an internal thing. It's what you teach your congregation when they become members. Your staff should have your mission statement memorized, but it's not your marketing asset. How do you get people's attention when they're just passing by? Okay? A couple examples. The church has done a terrible job of answering questions. So I want to ask you, what's the biggest question you've never had answered? People will stop for that message. I understand the world has its boot on your neck, and no matter what you do, the world always drags you back. That's something that's going to stop someone. From there, you can introduce the church. First, so-and-so church is here to help you break free from the chains of this world and experience true freedom in Christ by living the life that he's called you to do. Would you come to church on Sunday? Would you watch online? Give us a call. Whatever your call to action is, right? That's a clear message. That's a almost like a show-stopping message, right? It's a message that you say something on Sunday in the pulpit, and people say, "Preach." Right? That's what's going to get people's attention. But not only that, you got to be memorable. Because as you go out with your message, you let's just live realistically, right? You're not going to get that message in front of every person every time. But if you can anchor it to visuals, your brand, your visual brand, your colors, your style, your language, if you can anchor that message to those visuals, every time someone sees those visuals, they see your church, they see the building, they see your outreach, they see people wearing your shirt, they will remember you. Oh, that's the church that gave me water at the park. That's the church that paid for that guy's gas. That's the church that bought the house for the blind dude. True story from a client. That's the church that paid off $1 million of medical debt in the community. Another true story from a client. And people remember those churches because they were visually anchored using what we call be memorable. And then lastly, you got to be intentional. This is part of your foundation. And this is where the real magic happens, if I can say so. Sorry if I offended anyone. This is where the real magic happens, because now that you're intentional, with intentionality comes an intentional next step. And if you have one concise next step, think about what's the one thing you want people to do. You should train your congregation to only invite people to that one thing when they're lost, right? Now, obviously you have events you want to invite people to, great. But if you hear someone that specifically would stop because of your messaging, if there's someone that like our church is zeroed in, instead of throwing a barrage of confetti at them saying, "Hey, pick one. We'd love to have you." Give them one thing to do. Come to church with me on Sunday. Come to group with me. Come to this community event. What's that one thing? And then everything nurtures into that one thing. And also with Be Intentional, we can intentionally use our marketing assets, our website, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all that stuff, to point to one resource. We call it an online guest gift for the community. And when you make that available, they download it. Now you have a way in. You have a foot in the door. So for example, if I have a resource, 10 things to do with your kids on a rainy day, and you promote that on the radio, you promote that in all your sermons, you put a little bumper at the end. It's on your website. People can go and download that, and you can deliver it and then also follow up, because you need their email to deliver that free gift, that online guest gift. So you deliver it, then you ask them what they thought of it. Then you share why you made it, because it's important. Family is important. You share a testimony from someone in your church that has that same issue or that used the same resource. And you now have a dialogue. You have a one-to-one dialogue that's personal, private, in their inbox, whether it's email or message, whatever you decide. And you have a conversation started. That's being intentional. And you realize we haven't gotten to any of the sexy stuff. We haven't gotten to a website. We haven't gotten to, we touched a little bit on texting. We haven't gotten to Facebook ads or Google Grants, because none of that works if you don't have these foundations in place. Okay. If you run, I don't care if you have the world's best designer and the world's best copywriter, but you have no message behind it. You don't know who your church is. You cannot communicate it effectively. And you try to run Google Grants, they will shut it down because you're irrelevant. You try to run Facebook ads, no one will click because you're not resonating with them. If you have the most beautiful design and the most eloquent speech, but you don't have the clear message behind it, it's the same as a pastor who goes up on stage and preaches with the beautiful oration of a professional preacher, and he's dressed up in the silk suit, 3-piece suit with the pink pocket pastel square. And he's preaching and he's getting amens, but not once during the entire sermon does he open his Bible or even quote the Bible. See, he's all flash and no message. So we don't want to do that. We don't want to have a pretty website, but then not clearly communicate who our church really is. That's why you've got to start with the foundation by being clear, being memorable, and being intentional. Only then can you go to maximizing visibility. Now, this is all about maximizing visibility, is all about what we call peak positioning. That is being available when people are searching for you. Most of the time at this point, it's people searching for churches, both unchurched, de-churched, or just moved, or maybe I'm just not happy with my current church. Okay. Now we can have a conversation about church transplants. That's a different show. But we want to make sure that as we have our messaging, as we have our memorability, and as we have our intentional outreach through the online guest gift, we want to make sure that it's resonating with the people that at least know they want a church. You're not going to resonate with the people who are unchurched and de-churched if you can't even reach the people that are looking for a church, which is why we very intentionally don't hit those ads to lost people yet. We focus on the people that know they need a church to make sure that what we're doing resonates with them. Okay. And that starts with an accurate and engaging website. We call it be engaging, because if someone comes to your website and leaves without doing anything, you might as well not have had a website at all. In fact, you will be penalized by Google if too many people come to your website, do nothing, and leave. That's why it's important to have a captivating message that people can't ignore, to be intentional, to get them to click through and to get a connection with you. And not only that, make it easy for them to connect with you through web chat, through an easy to use navigation, through a fast loading website. All of these create an engaging online presence that not only Google likes, but more importantly, people like. And from there, you got to make that website found. Because if you have a website, a beautiful church website, but no one can find it, then you might as well not have a website at all. This is why most church websites are actually bad stewardship and bad investments from churches, because it's one puzzle piece. You can't tell what the church is because you can't even find it. So you got to be found using local search engine optimization. This is optimizing your website to be found online. This is going out to local resources, your Google business profile, local directories and citations, church directories, online, submitting your information accurately, consistently, and also getting more people to refer your website online. Usually this is done through press releases. We'll talk a little bit more about PR later as the final step of the definitive church marketing method. And then not only that, you have to be represented. If you're represented, that means you get people talking about your church, and not just your church, but what Jesus has done for them in your church. Because here's the truth. If I go to many church online reviews, I see a very common review: happy people, beautiful building, funny pastor, friendly people, 5 stars. Everyone knows pastor's wife wrote that review. Instead, what they should see is reviews from people that are like them, that share a story like what they're going through. Because more important than friendly people, funny pastor, beautiful building, more important is, I once was lost and broken, and I felt like I was no good. But then Jesus found me through this church, and through this church and faith community, I'm now working to be the man I'm called to be. My marriage is better. My relationships are better. My money's better. My kids are better. I'm living an abundant life. And while it's not perfect, I'm striving to be more like Christ every day. And this is a place that if you're broken, this place will show you the fix. 5 stars, right? That is something where I can see I'm broken. I have bad relationships. I'm sleeping on the couch. I'm 1 strike away from getting fired. If I see that, and I see a story, if I'm like that and I see a story like that, I'm going to that church. So that's why it's important to not only have an online presence, but it's got to be engaging. It's got to be found, and it's got to be represented. Okay, I'm actually using an old diagram here because it's just what I had loaded in my video software. The last step we call, or the last phase we call increase awareness. That's what we used to call it. Now we call it momentum multiplier, because that's what it actually is. It's multiplying the momentum you have. Look, you do phase 1, you're going to see triple people come to your church in 90 days because you will have more people understanding who your church is and why they should get involved. You'll get 5 times as many people coming once you get your peak positioning, because now all the people that are searching for a church and searching for ministries and searching for support are now able to find you. And then now to get to 10x, you've got to multiply the momentum, and that's going out and reaching the people who don't know about your church, don't even know they need church, have a misconception of church. They're unchurched, they're de-church, they're anti-church, they're unknowing of the church. They don't know what they don't know, so they can't act upon what they don't know. This is where, in this last phase, you go out and you make them aware of not only of your church, but of Jesus. And we do that through 3 phases. These are the 3 proven ones. There are other methods, YouTube ads and TikTok ads we won't get through here. But this is where we really get into paid advertising. And the first one isn't really that much paid. We call that Be Known. That is using Google ads through the Google grant. That's free money that Google gives you. to advertise your church in Google search. So you don't just show up when people are searching for church near me. You show up when people are looking for divorce resources, questions about the Bible, questions about local news, questions about national news. What does the Bible say about blank? You could actually show your answers to someone before they see someone else's answers. And someone else's answers aren't always going to be biblical, whether they're a church or not. And then not only that, that's what we call intent advertising, meaning you're advertising as an answer to a problem people are searching for. We also do Facebook ads. We recommend that through what we call our Be Seen framework, where you're not just putting out ads that say, hey, look at our church, look how great we are. Don't you want to plan a visit? Don't you want to come to an event? If you only promote your church when you have an event coming on, don't be surprised if people think you're just an event church, a programmatic church. Okay, so instead, we take a more relational approach using our Be Seen framework, and we get your church in front of people in a relational way to get them to submit prayer requests, to get them to pray with you, to get them on messages with you, texting you. Okay, with a special number, not your personal number. So you can develop a relationship, because that's where discipleship really happens. This whole thing is about discipleship. Okay, it should be called church discipleship, but we use marketing methods, so that's what we call it. The last step is to be everywhere. Because imagine if someone's looking for a church, or someone was just like, God, just help me, I don't know what to do. And they keep seeing your church, not only online through a Google ad, not only through a Facebook ad, but they hear about you during an interview on the news. They see you at a conference they're at, or they see you at a market they're at, and they eventually say, because our clients hear this so much, I was thinking about church and your name just kept coming up, or I was struggling with this and your name just kept coming up. God must have been trying to tell me something. Absolutely, amen. And I know how. Because through what we call Be Everywhere, you create relationships and you get other people to talk about you. And that's where real influence comes from, because people will hear what you say about yourself, but they'll believe what others say about you. So if you can get the public talking about you and sharing the stories of what God's doing in your church, then everyone in your community will know who you are.